Mortgage Home Loans. What is the official title of Axia?
Axia Home Loans.
Axia Home Loans. So does that make you a mortgage loan originator? I know there's been some debate in the industry what you want to be called. And, I don't want to upset the powers that be and, get angry email from one of the people in your industry, Jaxon. So set the record straight. Tell the people, what officially should we call you?
I think the strict name is Mortgage Loan Originator, but most of us just go by loan officer. It's a little more casual that way.
And I guess that leads me into the next question, mortgage loan originator. I think there's a sentiment, especially a lot around young people today, millennials, haven't stepped inside of banks a lot because of digital banking, all these powers that be that are awesome. We're living in a digital world. But there's probably some fear and apprehension walking into a bank and saying, hey, I want to apply for a home loan. And that's a difficult process, fear. So what should people really know walking into their first meeting with you, whether it's over the phone or in person? What do they need to have? Just walk us through that process a little.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think especially for a first-time home buyer or prospective first-time home buyer, it can be a little intimidating. Imagining walking in a bank and like, where do I even start? I think with us, we have the ability to do in-person meetings, but also just have a conversation on the phone. Usually that's the best way to introduce ourselves and get to know the potential borrower. And just usually we have like 5 or 10 simple questions that we ask just to get to know them and the situation that they're in. And if it looks like they're in a situation where they'd like to buy in, say, the next 3 months, 6 months even, then we can move towards filling out an application, which obviously is always free. But that allows us to pull credit and get a more specific picture idea of where they stand and what they could be approved for.
So that first meeting, they don't have to feel like they're walking in to this meeting with you where they have to have all their documents in order, all their tax records. Because I think sometimes that's the sentiment, and maybe that's why they don't end up picking up the phone or walking in. Yeah. It takes them so long to actually go through that pre-approval process. Because of maybe they don't know how that.
Yeah, no, it's low commitment off the bat. I mean, when it comes time to make an offer, that's when we'd like to see more documentation, tax forms, just to make sure that like everything they're saying lines up with what their taxes are telling us. Sure. So eventually that needs to happen, but off the bat, it's more of a casual conversation where we get to know their situation.
So I do want to talk about a little bit about new construction in our area as well as yours. We really have 2 forms of new construction in our area. We have spec and pre-sale, and that's standard. So just to define those for those who don't know, spec is where a builder builds out that home, all the specific standards and upgrades, they pick them out. And then when it's ready, like cabinets are in, hardwood is in, the clients are able to come and walk through. There's about 45 days to close. And that's pretty similar to a resale in a lot of ways. Then we have pre-sale lots where builders are doing those. Those are big players, the big builders, corporations. They're able to hedge against some of the things going on, variability in prices and stuff. They're doing pre-sale lot where they're selling the land. You would walk in with the builder. You're building up the house with them. It takes about 6 months. You get to choose all your options, your upgrades. It's awesome. And that's about 6 months out. So from your standpoint, Jaxon, when you're doing lending, construction, project, what are some things people should be thinking about after they get that pre-approval letter? And let's say they're in a pre-sale type of build with a builder. They've been approved. What should they be aware of? What should they be avoiding?
Yeah. So the biggest difference between pre-sale, spec, resale from a lending perspective is the timeline, the time gap. On a pre-sale home, it could take, a year or more for that home to be built. And so when we pre-approve someone when someone fills out an application, and we pull their credit, look through it, and give them a pre-approval letter. That pre-approval is based on a snapshot of their financial position. So we're looking at it. If I gave you a pre-approval letter today, today's the 26th, like you are pre-approved based on your situation as of today. And so with a pre-sale home, if it takes 12 months to build that, um, when it comes time to close on that home, um, if your situation has changed in a way uh, for the worse, that could, kill the deal, and that's what we don't want to happen. So it's important for clients to work closely with their lender over the course of, say, that 12 months to make sure that they're not doing anything that could put the deal in jeopardy. And some of those things are obvious, like buying a big car. Maybe that's possible to do, maybe not. That's something you should talk to your lender about. Buying another home, that's something you should probably talk to your lender about beforehand. Changing jobs, changing the way you're paid. There's lots of different things that you should work closely with your lender so that when it comes time 12 months down the road to um, actually close out on that home, that you can still get that same loan amount.
Right? Because I think that's a pretty common misconception when people are buying a sale home, that they think, oh, that pre-approval letter is good until the end of time. I can go out and I can do whatever I want because I have this pre-approval letter. And I have seen people miss out on a new build after the house has been completed and they picked out everything, and then they get there and they don't actually their loan limit same after 7-8 months
Right.
because they haven't lived in the same way that they did before.
And because it's pre-sale, they probably put down a whole lot of money into a deposit, to make sure that the builder is taken care of. So yeah, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, that's a mess. And basically that money's, unless that builder is really nice, as you and I both
Really,
know,
really nice.
that's probably not the case. So moral of the story, people should really be in close contact with you or any lender that they're working with throughout the whole process. Really just clarify big purchases, even furniture, right? I mean, if you go and buy a $3,000 worth of furniture, that could really change your debt to income, or if you buy it on credit or certain things. So those kind of
Yep.
things, they need to reach out.
Yeah, it depends on how much wiggle room you have at the beginning. For some people buying a whole lot of furniture, some people could buy another house. I mean, it just depends on how much wiggle room you have based on, yeah, your debt to income and your credit. That's another thing. If your credit tanks, like that could have a huge impact on what you're qualified for.
My wife, that's what we'd be working with. Um, I do want to talk about, from our standpoint as a realtor, what we're seeing is in Kootenai County, we're seeing a lot of people struggling with the timelines of buying new construction. That's the biggest thing. When people
Yeah.
come in and ask me, hey, what's this home worth? What's it valued? I stop them right there and ask, what's your timeline? Because
Yeah.
timeline and motivation, we don't do anything without motivation, but we can't do anything without the right timeline. And so the beauty of building a spec home where they choose everything for you and it's 5 days from the time you offer to close, if you're looking to cross the border, which in Idaho this last year, 53,000 people crossed the border into Idaho, 48,000 of those were out of state residents or out of state people moving into Idaho. So 53,000 people did that. So if you're looking to do that option with new construction, it's really important you have the timelines nailed down, because if you sell your home, let's say in Spokane, Washington, wherever, and you're in a pre-sale type of situation, you're waiting 6 months till that closes, right? You can't move in home before it's done. So you have to figure out a situation in which you can live with family, you do a rental, whatever. And a lot of people don't have that option. So the beauty of a spec home is you sell your home, probably have 45 days until it closes in wherever that area. And then the spec home, once you make your offer, you have 45 days until it closes. So sometimes those mirror up perfectly, and that's a better fit than doing pre-sale. And that's really important for those who are looking to sell and get into well, because as we both know, Idaho is the fastest growing state country. Number one, 2.9% increase in population in this last.
Yeah. Talk to me for a little bit about we're seeing, 53,000 people move to Idaho this year. Um, it's a crazy seller's market, lot of competition. How does working with a realtor on the seller side and buyer side, like where does your value come in, especially in this type of market?
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, right? I'm in the profession, but I think you're crazy not to. And really, there's two ways you use a realtor. You use them on the buying side, use them on the selling. Talk a little bit about the buying side first. So on the buying side, 99% of the time, you're not paying the realtor to work for you. So you're building a relationship with the realtor out of trust, and the seller ends up paying that commission anyways. So from my standpoint, why wouldn't a buyer work with a realtor? They're one, your advocate. That's the biggest thing, especially on an entry level home. They're your advocate. They're fighting for you when there could be multiple offer situation. They're negotiating for you. They're able to provide local market area data. What are good neighborhoods? What are neighborhoods that, maybe are growing too fast, that where maybe there's a bypass going in right next to it. Those kind of things. Realtor valuable on the buying side. And you don't even have to pay them. The sellers do that 99% of the time. On the selling side, I think you're missing out if you're not putting on the multiple listings. 3,000 licensed professional looking at your home. I mean, for example, there's a home north of
Is
Rathdrum
that in your area?
in our area, in Kootenai County, 3,000 licensed agents in Kootenai County. So, for example, there's a home north of Rathdrum on 10 acres listed at 1.2 for sale by owner. Awesome property. The only reason I found out about it is because my clients are awesome people and they're looking for homes around the area. They just happened to stumble upon this home on a random website, and I couldn't even tell you the website's name. I think it was on Redfin too, but it had been on the market 100 days, and I'd never even seen evidence of this being. It's a great property. Probably would sell for 1.3 right away. If they would have put it on the multiple listing service, used an agent, they would have made up that $100,000 difference just by putting on the multiple listing service with an
Yeah.
agent. So when you're trying to save, what would that be? $45,000 and $35,000. You're missing out on the potential income that you get because of so many. I mean, this place wasn't even listed on Zillow. Part of our services, we list on Zillow, we list on we have sites, we have our SEO. Search on Google for a home, it pops up right away. Professional pictures, all these kind of things. Who cares about the commission when you're making X amount more because of the exposure and the quality of service? And some people
Right.
don't subscribe to that, and I understand. But so when you're using an agent for buying or selling, you're getting a professional. I mean, if you want a salesman, you'll get a salesman. But if you're looking for a professional, take the time and find one. Those kind of people are out there. That's their full time career, and they'll help you. They'll actually provide. So those are the couple things I would say. Obviously,
Yeah. That's good. I think one other thing that I wanted to get into a little bit too, obviously, we're in a super competitive market. I think you mentioned a stat that 30% of deals done up there were with cash and 70% used financing. What are some other ways besides just rolling in with all cash to strengthen your offer? So waiving contingencies, I don't know, you're the expert on this, but talk about that a little bit.
yeah, in our market, we're seeing in the entry level home, it's still pretty competitive. It's highly competitive. There's just so many. There's such a big buyer pool for that. So if you're looking to submit an offer, I'd never recommend this to my clients, but I always say I highly recommend an inspection. But if you do want to make your offer more competitive, you can waive inspection, and that's a big deal to a seller because that's another just step in contingent they don't have to worry about. Uh, and there's a thing like escalation clauses are still a thing in our entry level market. They're not as widely as used. I would say come with their highest and best first for the ball lands regard. And then once you do that and you maybe waive inspection, even though I can, then all you have left is your appraiser. And it's important to note 70% of our deals in our market over 2021 were still financed. There's this narrative out there that everything was in cash, and there were some 30% of our market were cash deals. 70% were financed, and so I think that's important when making an offer too. Don't always think that you don't have a chance because it's just a cash deals out on the table everywhere. No, sometimes just other people's offers are better, and you have to play around with it with financing. And I know from your standpoint, how can a lender help play with an offer as well and help add credibility? Submitted.
Yeah, I think the first thing is the credibility of the lender himself. When a listing agent is working with their sellers and they're looking at pre-approval letters, if a name jumps out there that they know, oh, we've had a bad experience with this person, or yeah, we've had a deal blow up with them, that pre-approval letter is going to mean a whole lot less, right? And your offer is going to mean less because of that. So working with a lender that you trust, but that is also trusted by other real estate agents in the area. I'd say that's probably one of the most important things. Another thing that lenders, I feel like, should be doing, we do, is writing a letter to the seller explaining the situation. And that depends on what the buyer wants us to
Sure,
do. But
sure.
if the buyer wants us to do that, we can write a letter to the seller. Um, Another really good thing is making a call to the listing agent and explaining the financing. Um, and explaining how rock solid it is, and the different things going on. Oftentimes, clarity um, from the listing agent's perspective is something that could tip the scales. So, yeah, I'd say those three things put together can strengthen or make your offer more competitive in the crazy environment we're in.
Right. And we're still, I mean, I know we are seeing that in the definitely pointed on, but I would say in the higher $800,000 and up, it isn't quite as, there's not as much fervor, right? There's some room to play, there's some room to talk. Um, those things always important to what are we looking at this price point? Is it the same as an
Yeah,
entry level home, or where we're going to be super competitive, or hey, it's been on the market for 70 days. What do we offer them?
right.
And that is where the value of a realtor and a good lender comes well, because maybe you can steal a property, steal because of your financing of it, and because of got it at a little bit of a discount when you think in this market there's no way, but there's still a lot of overpricing. So
Yeah.
as usual, people always think when it's good, I can sell it for whatever. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is jumbo loans. We're starting to reach a price point in which median house sales prices are so high that you have to use a different product in order to reach those limits, because we all have a finite amount of resources. There's scarcity, and that's just a reality, and that's fine. But there are certain ways that we have to use products to get there now that the prices are so high. One of those is a jumbo loan. You just talk to people about what that is, that product, educate them how that differs from just a forming.
Yeah. Yeah. So a jumbo loan is anything above the conforming limits set by the Federal Housing and Finance Agency. Um, and that limit was actually bumped up this year to $647,200 in most counties. I think there's like Sun Valley area, it's like 970 or something like that. But in almost all counties in the United States, that's the conforming loan limit. So anything above that 647.2 is considered a jumbo loan, because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac aren't going to purchase those loans in the secondary market. So it's other third party lenders who are taking on those loans, taking on that risk. Um, and I think some people, when they hear the word jumbo loan, get a little bit spooked, and you really shouldn't. It just means a more high balance loan. Um, and so though there might be different not contingencies, restrictions, guidelines that apply to those. So Fannie Mae has their own guidelines, but these other lenders that invest in jumbo loans have their own. And so they might require higher credit scores, bigger down payments, lower debt to income ratio. They have their own guidelines. They're probably going to be a little more stringent because there's more risk involved when you're dealing with a loan size of $1 million rather than 400,000.
Right. No, thanks for explaining that. I also want to ask you, I mean, are you seeing a lot more of those, Boise? And before you answer that, I do want to let people know, don't know this. Jaxon does a majority of his Boise, but he has helped me actually in Kootenai County, and he's able to. He's licensed in all of Idaho. He can come up here and help you. So if you're even looking to have a conversation or use Jaxon as well, he's totally able to know the market up here and provide any service that our market. Just wanted to point that.
Appreciate it. What was the question?
So what is are you seeing a lot more majority of jumbo loan in Boise area, metro area, because of just how high the prices are?
Yeah, I mean, we are. So the limit was raised by $100,000 about in 2022, and that was to match the appreciation of houses in the country. So I think the limit was increased by like 18 something percent, and that was hopefully to match the appreciation. But with the appreciation we've seen in Idaho, yeah, more and more people are being bumped into that jumbo category if they can't pay with cash just because of home prices alone. Although there's something to be said about non first time home buyers are purchasing homes using cash from the equity of their other house. So they may not need as much financing as we think because their house appreciated alongside of the house that they're looking to buy.
No, that makes sense. Well, I just want to thank you, Jaxon, for taking the time with us today. I really appreciate all your perspective. I do like to ask everyone I talk to, what are your 3 favorite books? I think reading's very undervalued in generation. Want to do, and also 3 favorite movies, because I love movies, and that's going to be tough for you. And while you think of some 3 favorite movies, I know you have your 3 favorite books off the top of your head. Just to plug a little bit of who Jaxon is, his background, because I know he doesn't want to do it by himself. He's a humble guy. Jaxon played college basketball at Corbin. And how many years were you at Corbin?
2 years.
2 years, played basketball there. Transferred up to LCSC, Lewis State College, for those. Played 2 years too?
Just a year, and then COVID hit.
Just a year, and then COVID hit. Awesome athlete, even better guy. If you ever want to just have a conversation about sports or anything, give him a call. Super easy to talk to. I'm biased though. So, top 3 books. What are we thinking?
I'm gonna go 3 different categories, and I think all these books are like recently read. I don't know that I can go back and say what my 3 all-time favorite books, but right now the ones that come to mind, Endurance. It's the story of this group of I think like 30 guys who tried to traverse Antarctica like 105 years ago or 110 years ago or something. Just an insane story. They get stuck at sea. They're hopping iceberg to iceberg in frigid temperatures, soaking wet, and they're out there for like 2 years. It's just the craziest story. I don't want to give away any more than that, but highly recommend it.
Spoilers. You're spoiling it. No spoilers. Okay, what's the next 2?
Another one. Next one, I'm gonna go sports route, but this is kind of like sports and statistics at the same time. But The Hot Hand. Have you read it?
No.
Really good book. Kind of goes through the debate, the argument of whether people shoot better after.
Oh yeah.
Shots.
Yeah, no, I have read that. Like the fallacy that, you know, the person who shoots like is hot during that moment should take the next shot. Is that by Gladwell?
Right.
I want to say that's by Malcolm Gladwell. And for those of you who don't know, Malcolm Gladwell is such an intelligent. If you haven't read some of his books while Jaxon looks this up, one of my favorite books is What the Dog Saw. And it just goes through a lot of different topics, like why there aren't different flavors of ketchup. Super interesting. Gladwell has an interesting ability explain like modern day philo- philosophy and ideas that you probably wouldn't think about, and do them in super simple, especially for a simple guy like me. A lot of theory. So Malcolm Gladwell, we're trying to figure out the hot hand. Did he write it?
Oh, no, it was written by Ben Cohen,
Ben
but
Cohen.
they talk about Michael Gladwell a ton in it and his study with, I think his partner, I can't remember what his name is. But yeah, they go through the argument for the fallacy. And I'm not going to spoil it, so you just got to read the book.
Okay. All right. Last one.
I'm going to go, I'm a big Tim Keller fan, so I'm going to go The Reason for God.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
Tim Keller. Yeah, that's a book that I go back to a lot. So I'd say, yeah, those are my top three.
Tim Keller, surprisingly taller than you'd think. I saw him at Wheaton. He came and spoke when I was
He's a big guy.
Big guy, nice power forward. He could give you easily 12 and 12 a night. You know, you throw Tim out there, you run flex, Tim's posting up. I was shocked. I was sitting right behind him on stage when he came to Wheaton. Awesome guy, really, really, really a sweet man. You know, just like a sweet countenance, very friendly. But when I sat up there, I was like, wow, Tim's a good 6'4", you know, 6'5", somebody you want bruising the paint, boxing out, gathering a couple boards, maybe even playing a point forward kind of. Tim Keller, cool guy. Secondly, top three movies. Boom, boom, boom. Got him.
I love Good Will Hunting. Do you
Those
disagree
apples.
with that?
No, how do you like them apples?
Yeah, that's right. Heat.
Really?
Oh, you don't like Heat?
Never seen it. Only.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Scarface?
No.
What am I thinking? That's the one with Nero, right? No,
so
Scarface. Pacino.
It's Pacino and De Niro in Heat.
Is it like the cocaine? Like, is it cocaine era down in Miami? Is that Heat?
No, this one is heist, but it's Pacino and De Niro are like the two, well, protagonists and antagonists. They have just some amazing scenes together. So I'm going Heat 2. 3, I'm going. I'll go back to my childhood, The Incredibles. That was my favorite movie as a kid.
Okay, I thought I was Dash for a year of my life.
Dude, everyone wanted to be Dash. I wanted to be Dash when I was a kid.
You could still be Dash with that hair. You just dye it some blonde. I can't get away with
Put
it.
A little mask.
Yeah, I can't get away with it. Dash was the coolest back in the day. You have to give our props to Pixar, I think. Pixar,
yep.
So
and Incredibles 2 is terrible.
That's a hot take. I wouldn't go.
Talk about that.
That's a hot take. I wouldn't quite say terrible. Syndrome was hard to top as a villain, but no, okay. Jack was awesome in Incredibles 2. Anyways, Jaxon, I won't take up any more of your time. Appreciate it. Look forward to working together in the future. Appreciate your honesty, your professionalism, and just speaking with us today, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.